In Fox Politics this morning, for the first time in more than 10 years, Congress talked about payment or reparations to the descendants of African slaves.
Jesse Teneur reports on a renewed push to study the damage done throughout history and what the country could do in the future.
A national reparations policy is a moral, democratic, and economic imperative.
As Black Panthers stood in silence outside, actor Danny Glover joined a panel in front of a House committee to remember his roots, the great-grandson of a former slave who was freed by the Emancipation Proclamation.
Slavery was a crime against humanity, one whose impacts we as a society continue to grapple with today.
Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen and his colleagues revived a conversation that hasn't happened in Congress in more than a decade. Payments or reparations for descendants of African slaves, African Americans.
It is only this group.
Texas Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is sponsoring a resolution first introduced 3 decades ago to form a commission to get the process going. A huge crowd lined the walls outside of the hearing to push it forward.
We want the America that we talk about. This is the first step.
Some see the discussion as purely political. Project 21, a Black leadership network, calls reparations a sham that hurts race relations. And on Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell also voiced his opposition.
We're always a work in progress in this country, but no one currently alive was responsible for that.
Members of the panel fired back.
This rebuttal proffers a strange theory of governance, that American accounts are somehow bound by the lifetime of its generations.
The country has paid other debts, including reparations to Japanese Americans after they were held in internment camps during World War II. Now these Americans argue it's their turn. In Washington, I'm Jesse Teneur.
Now, Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson says the idea of slavery reparations could be unconstitutional.
During his testimony, Johnson said the fair distribution of reparations would be nearly impossible.
The fair distribution of reparations would be nearly impossible once one considers the complexity of the American struggle to abolish slavery. The legal question is, the federal government can't constitutionally provide compensation today to a specific racial group because other members of that group, maybe several generations ago, were discriminated against and treated inhumanely.
Meanwhile, students and parents at a school in Minnesota have convinced the St. Paul School Board to rename a school named after President James Monroe, the 5th president.
Yeah, over the past year, the students have been working to change the name from Linwood Monroe Plus to Global Arts Plus. They wanted to change the name because Monroe was a slave owner. Students say the new name better reflects the student body and teaching staff at the Arts Magnet School.
I do not want our school to be named after someone that does not represent our school community at all.
Now, not everyone was for the name change. One former student launched a petition with more than 700 signatures to stop the move, but the school board voted 6-1 in favor of the idea.